Kemp is part of it. I have no idea why Republicans reelected him. It was one of the dumbest things they ever did.
What do you think is behind it,
It's a complete violation of the law. He could be one of the biggest lawbreakers. He could be one of the biggest lawbreakers in Georgia history.
I don't know anything about that, Mr. Murray, but I do know that Kemp is supposed to be a Republican. And Kemp could easily replace Fani Willis. I mean, there are enough reasons to say, you know what, I don't like the way she's prosecuting this case. We're going to replace him. But he's saying, and this is why he said we won't engage in political theater, because he wants to leave Fani Willis in, and he knows Fani Willis has it out for Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and 17 others. About right?
Yeah.
Disgraced New York mayor and legally proven defamer Rudy Giuliani thinks Brian Kemp is one of the biggest criminals in Georgia history. And boy, look at Newsmax run away from that possible defamation lawsuit. All of that Rudy rage comes after Kemp's decision to dismiss an attempt to remove Fani Willis from office. Because as Kemp points out, that's stupid, insane, and probably a crime.
There have been calls by one individual in the General Assembly and echoed outside of these walls by the former president for a special session that would ignore current Georgia law and directly interfere with the proceedings of a separate but equal branch of government. Up to this point, I have not seen any evidence that D.A. Willis's actions or lack thereof warrant action by the Prosecuting Attorney Oversight Commission.
Now, the Georgia lawmaker he's talking about is Confederate doughboy Colton Moore, the same Colton Moore who pledged to rally Georgia state troopers to break Trump out of jail. Check this winner out.
We've got the legislative authority to call in the state troopers and bring these people in, right? I mean, and now that we've got 19 people who are facing the rest of their life in prison because they spoke out against an election. I mean, you know, I told one senator, I said, listen, we've got to put our heads together and figure this out. We need to be taking action right now, because if we don't, our constituencies are going to be fighting it in the streets. Do you want a civil war? I don't want a civil war. I don't want to have to draw my rifle. I want to make this problem go away.
Unfortunately for Moore and his plot to overthrow the judicial system in Georgia, it all amounted to nothing. Because despite his many, many flaws, including passing voter suppression legislation, Brian Kemp doesn't seem too eager to shred the Georgia Constitution for Donald Trump. It isn't just Kemp either. Former Georgia Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan also had some choice words for Colton Moore. Listen to this.
Well, as the former president of the Senate, certainly I've seen folks try to stand up and say that the ridiculous things just to get popularity in their district. Look, sometimes small people arrive in big jobs, and that's how I would explain that situation. Trying to incite violence, trying to stir the crowd. I mean, that's exactly how we got to January 6th. And to be honest with you, I think very shallow below the surface in Donald Trump's mind, he wouldn't mind another January 6th moment. It would create the perfect shiny object for him to steer away from the current legal situation that he's in.
You know, if so many Georgia Republicans had so many moral problems with Donald Trump, maybe the time to share those would have been before the 2020 election. Just my opinion, though. But Donald Trump's legal team wants you to know he did absolutely nothing wrong in Georgia, as long as you don't look too closely at all those crimes. That was certainly the case for Alina Habba. And while Habba isn't a very good lawyer, sometimes the truth slips out when she least expects it. Listen to this.
Elected officials have to do what's popular and sometimes not what's right. And that's a problem. That's, I think, why people get nervous with Trump. He doesn't do what's popular or what's right. I should say he only does what's right. He doesn't do what's popular. And you've got somebody like Kemp trying to make a name for himself, and he frankly has. He's made headlines because he's going against the leading candidate for the Republican Party and, frankly, the leading presidential candidate, period.
Take it from Donald Trump's top lawyer. Some guys do what's popular, other guys do what's right. But with Donald Trump, you can trust he's not going to do what's popular or what's right. One of the best lawyers, folks. With brain geniuses like Habba in his corner, it's no surprise Trump wants to delay his Georgia trial as long as humanly possible. His co-defendants are also looking to get their trials separated. Now it looks like a great time to cut a deal with the Fulton County DA. Trump's co-defendants are starting to realize they're on their own. If anyone has something to say to Fani Willis that might earn them some leniency, now would be the time. And if you thought that was wild, check out this video. And as always, leave a comment below so you can let me know what I should cover next.